All right, everyone, we have Karsten Jensen on the phone today, or on the video, I should say.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome, Doug. My pleasure.
So, for those that don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I live in Canada now, outside Toronto. I lived here since 2007. Originally, I'm from Denmark. My educational background is a master's degree in exercise physiology. Beyond that, I have worked a lot with world-class and Olympic athletes, mainly in the Danish sports system. Since I came to Canada, I have mostly been teaching other trainers, both trainers and strength coaches that want to become trainers, and also people who wanted to continuing it. My specialty is periodization, where I have created a system of periodization called Flexible Periodization Method that's dedicated to create what we call H.I.P training programs, holistic, individualized, and periodized training programs. That's kind of the short and the long of it.
Well, there's certainly, I mean, having gotten to know you over the years, there's a lot more. You're a very diverse and complex man.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the periodization, because you have, the classic ones are linear periodization, and obviously you have several different other periodization models.
Yeah.
Where do you fall into that line with the periodization that you guys are teaching?
I think there are two levels to the question. What is one of the things that's unique about the flexible periodization method is that you can replicate any of the other known systems with the flexible periodization method, meaning you can give the client exactly what he or she needs. That's one thing.
Okay.
Another aspect of it, and that essentially is more important, is that a lot of the discussions about periodization, whether it's useful or not, whether it works for certain types of sports, it's really a discussion about the examples of periodization. So when we talk about those systems that we know, linear, etc., those are examples of periodization as opposed to periodization as a principle and a strategy. So that's really where each one of us should start understanding periodization, because periodization means a division into periods. That's what it means if you look it up in a dictionary.
Okay.
And if you then take that into a training context, it means taking that longer macro cycle and dividing it into shorter periods with different goals. So that means target training adaptations, for example, hypertrophy, goals, structures, and content of the training. So periodization in the essence is a strategy for organizing long-term training. And the strategy is to divide that long-term period up in shorter periods with different goals, structures, and contents. And then slightly more technical, these periods have to come in a certain order.
Okay.
Periodization is more than variation, which is also one of the beliefs that periodization is just variation. And while any one of us can avoid any one of the systems that are out there, including the flexible periodization method. Nobody, you can go your whole career and never use it, and you can go your whole career and say, I don't want to do linear, I don't want to daily undulating. But what you pretty much cannot avoid is to use periodization as a strategy. Because if you ever make any change to the training program, then you have a new period, at least with another content of the training.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the real question is not so much, should I use periodization? Does periodization work for my clients? The real question is, how am I using periodization? Is the way that I am using periodization provides the results that I want for the clients that I have? That's the real question.
No, and a great question.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're seeing it too, and I've seen it throughout my career that a lot of trainers just don't have any plan at all.
I've heard pretty bad stories about that. The worst story was really related to me by an instructor, colleague, who overheard one time when he was working in gym, the conversation. So what are we doing today? Legs? ? And there was a trainer who said that.
Wow.
Absolutely no plan.
Yeah, that's absolutely sad. I mean, and when you find people that are taking your course, is that what they're looking for, or are they typically who's the average person taking your certification?
The average person taking certification at this point in time are personal trainers.
Okay.
Some of them work for themselves, some of them work for others. I would say most of them, they're pretty busy. Most of them do not spend that much time on program design.
Okay.
And that's also why one of the changes we made over the last 5 years since the first version of the flexible periodization came out is we wondered, how can you teach these principles to be used without written training programs? So the very first manual that we have in the system is called Periodization Simplified, how to use the flexible periodization method on the fly.
Okay,
excellent. And it doesn't mean the principles are simplified. The simplification is that at the end of the description of each principle, there are application questions that allow the trainer to bypass the written training program and pretty much go from principle to application. That's how it's simplified.
Excellent. It's kind of that idea of make things as simple as possible, but not simpler than they need to be.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So, go ahead.
No, you.
So I'm wrapping my head around because I'm imagining the person, getting a chance to listen to us talk.
Yeah.
And I have, I've read your manual and it's fantastic.
Thank you.
And so, but somebody that's not used to periodization, maybe they're a newer trainer, they're just put into a gym. I got to imagine that really all they know about periodization is something they've read in their basic certification textbook and are maybe operating, unfortunately, off of the latest men's health workout of the month or something along those lines, just because they don't have the education.
Yes. Now, I think you could be right about that. You could be right about that. And I think that the most important aspect there, the very most important one, is the Zig Ziglar saying that if you're willing to learn, nothing can stop you. If you're not willing to learn, nothing can help you.
Yes.
You got to start somewhere. And then the next thing is, what is it that, at any point in time, how do I figure out what to try and learn within that whole area of fitness, which is everything from fascia stretch therapy to plyometrics to Olympic lifting to anything. It's a huge world, and there are many options to choose from. And the best piece of advice was really given to me one time by Paul Chek, where he talks about that you look at the process that you have creating the training program, and that ideally there should be multiple steps. And if you don't kind of have a process for that, that's kind of the place to start. And then you're wondering, where in this process do you have the most questions? And then you start defining questions. And just the act of being aware of the questions that I have to create the training programs, that's a growth for someone. Not everybody even has that. They don't ask the questions. And then when you know what questions that you have, then you can start looking for the workshops, the books, to answer those specific questions. To give you a simple example, if a yoga instructor becomes a personal trainer, very likely they don't need to take flexibility training workshops.
Yeah.
But they may need strength training workshops, how to use a bar, maybe plyometrics, whatever. So that's a very, very nice strategy to not become overwhelmed, and also to ensure that the workshops you take and the books you read actually become applied. Because you take something, that you can use it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So when I think this is really interesting for people watching because program design and periodization is something that's talked about a lot in our industry, but isn't executed very well, I don't think. And most likely because of laziness. I mean, really, from what I've seen, I think that happens the most. But do you find that people, when they approach your course, are approaching it, I would imagine, from two different angles? One is, I want to learn periodization because obviously it's the right thing to do and the best thing to do for my clients to get them growth. But number two is, there's also a huge client retention aspect if you have a periodized you have a plan that the client can see the vision for.
Yeah. There's not a lot of people that see that angle.
Okay.
Most of the people that come to our courses, because we have other courses and periodization courses, we also have a course on bodyweight training that emphasizes various techniques to increase the training stimulus without adding training time. most people come to learn the techniques that are more directly applicable.
Okay.
There are very few that I've met so far that are directly interested in periodization as a concept.
Interesting.
Specifically personal trainers, more so with strength coaches. It's a little bit more part of the growing up as a strength coach, that periodization is just something that you do. You don't even question it.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Your microcycles, mesocycles, macro.
Yes.
That's kind of strength coach 101, right?
Yeah. I think that I think it's more than laziness. I don't think it's laziness that much. I think it's more the work scenario, where depending on how you work and where you are in your career, the hourly rate may not be that much. Mm-hmm. Meaning that if you are, unless you live at home, more or less, then you have to have a lot of hours on the floor in order to create an income that you can sustain yourself on. Mm-hmm. And let's just say you have 30, 40 hours on the floor with someone. There's very, very little time for program design. And I think that's you can say just a fact. And in those, and I respect that, and I say to people, if you work like that, you might become very good at instructing exercises, be very good at troubleshooting, very good at interacting with clients, but you won't become very good at program design because you're not doing it. Yeah, obviously. And so you can say, I think one way to get there that most people have to go through, they have to somehow find a way of offering a better service and gain the confidence and the skills to raise their prices. Mm-hmm. So they can create another scenario for themselves where they don't work as many hours. And that's one of the things I know you guys are very good at, the business side of it. Mm-hmm. Which I know it to the extent that I can run my own business, but I don't know to the extent that I can teach it to anyone else. Mm-hmm. I can give you an example that may sound odd. I have never, in the 23 years I've been a strength coach, been in the gym for more than 10 hours a week at the most. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but without bragging, I've been very, very good at learning from those 10 hours. And I've been very fortunate that was a job description when I worked in Denmark. I really only ever worked with between 20 and 30 athletes at any one time. So I had a lot of time to program design. And I was also at the time and now, I wanted to learn. I counted the hours that I worked, but I didn't stop at 37 hours, which is the standard time of work in Denmark.
Okay. Well, I think that's really unique that you had that opportunity.
Yeah.
But I would also say, in my opinion, from my experience, I was a floor trainer for about 9 months, a long time ago.
Yeah.
But the other trainers made fun of me lightheartedly, because after work I would read and write programs, kind of like a teacher takes homework, the students' homework home and grades them, although they're not being paid for that. I looked at it as an opportunity to hone my craft,
Yes.
and was able, I got recruited by a certification company because they saw me doing that at the gym, and my business skyrocketed simply because I was able to provide a certain level of service the other trainers just weren't doing.
Yes.
Even though they had more experience and years under their belt at that time. So,
yes.
For those watching this, I think, if you're a floor trainer, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it was one of the best jobs I've ever had in terms of fun. It was really great. Because as you know, there's a lot of responsibility in owning your own business.
Yes, a lot.
Yeah, but if a trainer watching this wanted to take it to the next level, and that, I think a lot of people use that as an excuse. If I only have 30 hours that I'm getting paid, there's other hours in the day that you want to hone your craft if this is what you want to do.
Absolutely. And the key word Warren, you said a lot of good things there. Mm-hmm. But one thing that I sometimes talk about as well is the opportunity to learn. Because one of the things we teach is that every session and every program you make is an opportunity to learn. So if you just go through the motions, it's really a wasted opportunity to learn. And I would say if someone doesn't have the drive to do what you did and they want to become a trainer, maybe they should reconsider.
Yeah.
Honestly. I do get some coaches in our courses who they front up, they say, I'm doing this on the side, or I'm doing this for myself. So understand it's not a large portion of their life.
Yeah.
But if someone wants to make it a career, you have to do what you did, otherwise you're getting nowhere.
Yeah, and something you and I have talked about previously is, there's other areas besides just training that you should be studying. You should be, you quoted Zig Ziglar there. There's a multifaceted, you're a multifaceted person, so therefore you should be studying in multifaceted areas.
Yes, absolutely. I do a lot of study on consciousness in general, how consciousness creates physical reality. I study a lot something called the 0-point field, which is what quantum physicists say is really the foundation of the universe. Okay. And everything we see in what we call physical reality is a manifestation of different, they say the word perturbations in that field.
And what is that?
Huh?
What does that mean?
Really what it means most basically is that everything is energy, everything is a manifestation of consciousness. A very, very practical thing, and you're in California, Colorado? California. So out in California, you guys have an institute that's called H.I.P.
Okay.
Heard of those guys?
I have heard the name before. I don't know anything about it.
So they do research in, for example, that one person's heart rhythms show up in another person's brain rhythms if these two persons are within a conversational distance. So it means that at a very, very deep level, and they say the word, they call it coherent. So we can say the person who's on the highest level on an energy plane will affect the other one.
Interesting.
And that ideally should be the trainer affecting the client. If the client come in more coherent, more relaxed, more focused, more wanting to be there, than the trainer who is in his consciousness is scattered, don't really want to be there, being on the phone. That is probably the situation where the trainer is sucking energy out of the client, and the client will most likely not renew.
Yes.
And I'm taking a guess here, a wild guess here. So that's a learning, and they teach something they call the quick coherent techniques, which really is focusing on the heart area and breathing in and out of the heart area. And even though it sounds fluffy, it really is very, very well measured science. And I often recommend their work in various situations.
Heart math, right?
Heart math, yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. We'll make sure we indicate that in the show notes here.
Do that, yes.
And are you teaching this as one of your courses now, or something that falls in line with more of the holistic approach?
We teach this at one of our courses. I got an opportunity to teach it at the recent CP10 conference here in Toronto.
Okay.
So we now have a manual that's called I Am Strong, How to Align Thoughts, Beliefs, and Emotions to Reach Fitness Goals Faster Than Ever Before. So the first component is about the 0-point field, how to apply the characteristics of the 0-point field in training.
Okay.
The second component, really briefly, is about SMART TAR goals. So we added an R to the SMART acronym. Yeah. And the 2 R's briefly is reasons and responsibility.
Okay.
Not realistic. And then the third is the most practical portion. One of the main things here is what I learned from another great author called Luann Oakes, as a matter over mind protocol.
Okay.
So that's, for example, let's just say you have a goal of running at a certain speed. You start asking, how do my stride feel when I run at this speed? How does the energy through my legs feel when I run at this speed? So you try to connect to that quantum reality, to stay in that terminology, where you're actually doing it. Because that's one of the things from the research is that everything that we can ever possibly experience already exists in this field as quantum realities.
Fascinating.
Very fascinating.
Yeah.
Yes.
Every time you and I talk, my book list gets longer and longer and longer.
Yeah.
For what I want to be reading.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
You're welcome, Doug.
I think it's fantastic. So what other... we could talk about the subject forever.
Yes.
I could be interested in talking about it forever.
Likewise.
But in the shorter time we have, what other courses are you offering right now? So for somebody watching this that says, hey, look, I'm interested. Obviously, we have the periodization. What other courses are you guys offering?
Other courses. So the periodization really is a lot of different courses. Yeah. They are individual days under the large umbrella that's called Flexible Periodization Specialist, which I taught in the weekend, for example. And in terms of other courses, one of those days are called Periodization and Flexibility Training. So it's periodization applied to flexibility training.
Got it.
We have one which is very little about periodization called a course in breathing, which is about 15 different breathing techniques. The heart math breathing is one of the ones that I talk about, but also breathing for strength and breathing for endurance. We have another very popular workshops is called Exercise Creation, where I teach principles for putting exercises together in combinations, which is also classically called hybrids or complexes. But I've never really found anybody teaching how to put them together. Yeah. If you Google it, you will find articles that show the 5 best complexes or 5 best hybrids, but they don't teach you how to put them together. And that's, you can say, by looking at what you could do and taking that a little step further, I've kind of distilled the principles. So we have 6 or 7 principles for how to do that.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well,
I think... Go for it.
No, they all sound fascinating. I think you might be seeing me for the breathwork one. I'm always fascinated with breathwork, and I know it's one I could use help in.
Thank you. Yeah. And we have a lot of it online.
Perfect.
Yeah, on the website, because we are. I think we have sold resources in 23 or 24 different countries. Not everybody want to come to Toronto.
Toronto's beautiful, but sometimes you want to learn remotely when you have that time.
Yes.
That's got to make you feel great to have that many countries and that much interest.
It feels good. Yeah, it does. I think maybe the last one I want to mention is we have a course on the needs analysis. So figuring out what does it take to dominate the environment from a physical point of view, whether that's in daily life, the ability to put your cup away in a high cupboard if you're a senior, or what does it take to play volleyball, what does it take to compete in a Spartan race. And that's really the foundation of program design, because if you haven't done that, there's no way you can choose the exercises.
Karsten, we're at our limit, and it seemed to have gone so quickly once again.
Yes.
I'd love to have you back on for another episode, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions if you'd be willing to do that.
I would love to, Doug. Anytime.
Fantastic.
Pleasure.
Well, please let us know, where could people reach out to you if they have more questions?
That's just through our website. You can contact me through the website. There's a contact form. And the website is yes2strength, spelled in a normal English way.com, yes2strength. Or if you punch my name in Facebook, search it, and I'm on Facebook almost every day for a little bit, see if there's anything I can learn.
Yep.
Any links.
Fantastic. And then on the bottom of this, in both YouTube and Facebook, I'll go ahead and let you know if there's any comments and questions. Would you be willing to answer those for people?
I would. We are going on vacation tomorrow, so I won't be that available, but I'm going to go on and check briefly every day. Yeah, but I would like to answer a question and hear what people thought about what we were talking about here.
Where are you going on vacation?
We're going to Denmark, where I'm from.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, that's going to be nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Karsten, have a great vacation, and thank you again for being on.
You're welcome, Doug. Thanks for having me.